as we all know, I much prefer to say well-aging versus anti-aging. We all know it's a privilege to age. We all know we can't stop aging. But I do think whilst the industry has also switched from anti-aging to well-aging, there are still a lot of the same kind of like ridiculous promises that anti-aging products gave us, right? Products still claim to lift, tighten, rebuild collagen, reverse years and years of aging, and skincare can't stop you aging, as you know. But once you really accept that, I think well-aging skincare actually becomes easier to understand and honestly kind of fun. It's less about fighting the inevitable for me and just trying to figure out what my skin loves. But today, I'm going through some of my favorite well-aging products, but more importantly, what we can realistically expect them to do. Okay, so I'm starting with body care because I think we talk about like well-aging skincare for our face. We spend so much time talking about our face actually, and basically ignore everything from the neck down. Well, I do. I don't think a lot of people treat their body the same way they do their face. And BEEKMAN 1802 are very kindly sponsoring this segment of today's video. You may have seen me talk about their Milk RX face cream before. I've used it on and off for a long time now. I actually gifted it to my friend who doesn't do a lot of skincare and doesn't really want to start using like strong actives and stuff, and his skin has transformed over the last year. So good. I should have documented it, but it's a very, very nice moisturizer and one of my favorites. So when they told me that they've basically taken that same Milk RX approach and made it for the body, this is their new Milk RX Body Crepe Smoothing Cream, and it's specifically designed for skin that might be feeling a little bit drier, thinner, less bouncy, or showing more of that crepey texture. I don't want to say maturing, aging skin because that's there's a lot of nuance behind that. But for me, as my skin is maturing, these are things I am starting to realize. Neck down. Obviously, that's something that can happen as our skin naturally changes over time, after weight loss, or just life, to be honest with you. And for me, that's what well-aging is about. Not desperately trying to stop yourself from aging. That's not the point. We all know it's a privilege to age, but it's about looking after your skin as it changes, as you mature. The formula is very interesting as well. You've got their iconic goat milk exosomes to help support the skin barrier. They have their collagen plus complex, which they say is designed to support firmer, more elastic looking skin, and then lactic and lactobionic acid to gently exfoliate and smooth skin texture. Very gentle, you can use it daily. Going back to that collagen thing, collagen molecules aren't large enough to penetrate the skin. They can help boost hydration in the skin, but BEEKMAN actually have ex vivo testing showing a 1,223% stimulation in type 3 collagen production. This is laboratory testing, so I'm not gonna go put this on my arm and claim that I've suddenly got, you know, 1,223% more collagen. That's not how it works, but it's interesting research behind the formula. I've been using this for now about 3 weeks and it's so much lighter than I expected. I was expecting quite a heavy, thick body cream, but it spreads so nicely, sinks in quickly, and immediately makes my skin feel so much softer and smoother without leaving that greasy layer behind. I hate putting on body cream, then you have to stand there after you showered for like ages. It's also fragrance free, which I really appreciate because not everybody loves fragrance in their body care. Obviously, things like firmness and elasticity aren't something I can judge from 3 weeks application. So I'm going to keep using this and see how I get on. So there will be an update in a non-sponsored segment soon. But considering how much I already love the Milk RX face cream, I have very, very high hopes of this. So thank you so much to BEEKMAN 1802 for sponsoring this part of today's video. And I will, of course, link this in the description box down below. Moving on to the next product, of course, if I had to choose one actual treatment product for well-aging, it's going to be a retinoid. Of course, right? We all know that. Over things like collagen serums and peptides, those are all ingredients I'm interested in, and we'll get onto them in a bit. But retinoids has something a lot of these more trendier, well-aging products just don't have yet, and that is decades of research behind them. Sorry, I've got a trapped burp. Over the last few months, I've been using the PURITO Retinol Retinal 2000 NAD+ serum. What I actually like about this product is they've actually combined 2 different retinoids. There's 0.1% retinol and 0.1% retinal. And I say this is interesting because when it comes to Korean skincare, they don't tend to do these high percentage actives. They're moving more onto that as they target the West more. When they do that, they tend to ingredient dust, you know, putting the tiniest bit of that active ingredient in and then kind of highlighting that ingredient, it may as well not exist. But they haven't done that with this serum. For those who don't know, those two ingredients, retinol and retinal, eventually have the same destination in the skin, right? But they take slightly different routes to get there. Retinol, which I feel like is the most popular, has to convert into retinal, and then retinal converts into retinoic acid. So retinal has one less conversion to go through. So this is where you'll sometimes hear people say, brands, I mean, that retinal is basically tretinoin, or that it's automatically stronger than retinol. But that's kind of like oversimplifying it massively. And I've actually used tretinoin in the past, and my skin just can't handle it. I feel like I have a really good month, and then all of a sudden I'm red, my skin is non-stop peeling, which doesn't really work when I'm on camera every single day. So for me, something like this PURITO serum makes much more sense for my lifestyle, for my skin type and condition. I'm not interested really in using the strongest possible retinoid just so I can say I'm using the strongest possible retinoid. I don't feel like I have anything to graduate onto. I'm interested in what I can use consistently for years and years and years without my skin constantly being irritated, peeling and red, because that is super counterproductive. As we know with consistent use, sorry I keep saying as we know because I don't want to patronize anyone, but as we know, retinoids can affect several other things we associate with photo-age skin. They can help normalize epidermal cell turnover, influence pigmentation, and importantly, can affect collagen production, which along with elastin, becomes harder to reproduce as we get older. And that's why over time, we see improvements in things like fine lines and wrinkles, uneven pigmentation, and skin texture. That over time bit is the most important, right? Retinoids aren't giving you completely new skin in 7 days, which I feel like a lot of people online expect because they're always like, this isn't working. And I'm like, it's been a week. PURITO put NAD in here, and this is where the product becomes very 2026, very TikTok version of what kbeauty is. And of course, compared with retinoids, there just isn't anything approaching the same amount of evidence for topical cosmetic NAD. So it's fine. There's also allantoin, which I love seeing in formulas where there's potential for irritation. So retinoids are probably my number one treatment ingredient for well aging. I say mine, I say probably the most researched and highly recommended by everyone else. I think my favorite daily thing you can do about when it comes to prevention is obviously sunscreen. I know, boring, we all know, but I have recommendations for you. New sunscreens I absolutely love. So very quickly, collagen, elastin breakdown, oxidative stress, we all know why we need sunscreen. I'm not going to go on about it. You can buy all the anti-aging products, but ignoring something we know contributes to collagen breakdown, and not wearing sunscreen is crazy. And I think sunscreen also highlights for me one of the biggest problems with how we see a lot of people judging skincare nowadays, judging whether their skincare is working or not, because there's no satisfying result, you know? I don't pop it on and then 20 years of sun damage disappears from my face. If I use a retinoid and my pigmentation gradually improves, I can see that, right? I'm like, oh, this product's working. If I use a hydrating serum, my skin looks plumper. If I use the sunscreen properly every day, the benefits I'm gonna see 10 years down the line, and I'll be very grateful for that. You of course get SPFs with peptides in nowadays, niacinamide, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, collagen, antioxidants, all these marketed as these amazing anti-aging sunscreens. Don't get me wrong, all those ingredients are great. Very nice additions, let's say, but they are additions. The most important thing I need my sunscreen to do is to provide good broad spectrum UV protection and be pleasant enough that I'm actually going to use it consistently every single day. That's why I actually rotate between quite a few. I feel like I've really landed on some of my favorites at the moment, depending on how my skin is feeling, the current condition of my skin, and how I'm feeling. Sometimes the idea of putting sunscreen on my skin, I'm like, oh, it feels so suffocating some days over others. Sometimes it's just a texture, sensorial thing. I don't know why, but sometimes I can handle certain things and sometimes I can't. The House of Her Tropical Dew Sun Cream SPF 50+ is one I've constantly enjoyed. I would say this is your standard SPF. Korean SPF we're all used to. Moisturizing, bit of a dewy glow. Of course, the Haruharu Wonder Black Rice Airyfit Sunscreen is another I also really like, that I feel like I can just use as a daily sunscreen because it feels exactly like a moisturizer. I absolutely love the new Round Lab one. If you are after one that is watery in texture, So lightweight, so lightweight, doesn't sting the eyes, doesn't irritate your skin. This is an amazing one. Same goes for the Mediheal Madecassoside Moisture Sun Serum. This is my all-time favorite sunscreen of all time, ever of all time. It's so lightweight, so lightweight. I can put this right over my eyes and doesn't sting my eyes. Now, this is probably where we move away from what most people would traditionally call an anti-aging product. I keep doing anti-aging. We all know what we mean. It's fine. I don't have to keep doing this. The Aestura Atobarrier 365 cream. Listen, I know I repeat myself. I get told off for repeating myself about products, but then I get told off for using too many new products. I can't win. But the Aestura Atobarrier cream is one I've used for years. I've gone through so many tubes of this stuff, and it's one of those moisturizers I just cycle back to all the time. And you know what? It's not stimulating collagen, and it's not giving me peptides, and it's not like smoothing out fine lines and wrinkles, all that kind of stuff. It's not going to lift anything. But I actually think a really good moisturizer is so important when you're talking about, well, aging, because one of the things that changes as our skin ages is its ability to retain moisture. You've probably heard the incredibly overused like bricks and mortar analogy when it comes to skin. Ceramides, cholesterol, and free fatty acids are incredibly important because they're helping create this barrier that keeps water in your skin, essentially. Ceramides make up a huge proportion of those lipids too, and as skin ages, ceramide levels can decline and the skin becomes more prone to dryness. And this is one of the reasons why somebody who was incredibly oily at 20 might suddenly find themselves being combination skin in their late 30s, needing a completely different type of skincare routine and moisturizer later in life. That's why I like the Aestura cream. It's built around the barrier and lipids. I keep saying this is like the Korean CeraVe. This is used in hospitals and dermatology clinics. You've got ceramide MP, but along with that, you've got cholesterol and fatty acids in the formula. So when I'm looking for a barrier-focused moisturizer, I really like seeing that combination, the broader combination of ceramides and fatty acids. And what I've always loved about this cream compared to other ceramide creams, CeraVe, I can say it, I don't know why I did that. This doesn't feel like some waxy layer on my skin. It doesn't feel thick and suffocating. It's rich, but it's not like overwhelmingly heavy, which is always an issue for me when it comes to well-aging moisturizers. Shall we actually move on to peptides? I've been using the, where is it? In the bathroom. I've been using the COSRX, the Blue Peptide Bakuchial Plump Glow Serum, and there are actually a lot of peptides in here. The star is copper tripeptide 1 or GHKCU, which is also what gives that serum that blue color. It's not an additive, it's the actual peptide. Copper peptides are interesting because they've been studied for their role in wound healing, skin remodeling, and there is some evidence suggesting they can influence fibroblasts and the production of collagen, enough so that cosmetic chemists, dermatologists, everyone in between loves these kind of peptides in skincare. Then there are several other peptides, including acetylhexapeptide 8 and acetylhexapeptide 3, which are the Botox in the bottle peptides. They're designed to interfere with the signaling involved in muscle contraction. It's not, you know, I really don't like calling them Botox in a bottle. I don't know where that's come from. They aren't paralyzing your facial muscles like injected Botox. I feel like people don't know what Botox is when they say this. But any effect is going to be very subtle, so subtle. That's generally how I view peptides for well-aging. There's genuinely interesting research around certain peptides and their ability to act as signaling molecules within the skin. The quality of evidence varies though, depending on the specific peptide, which is fine. Definitely not putting them in the same category as retinoids just yet, but I do think they're a real solid addition to a well-aging skincare routine, particularly because they're generally much easier to tolerate as well. We have bakuchiol in here, which I'm neither here nor there about. I don't feel like my skin massively benefits from it, but niacinamide, adenosine, glycerin, beta-glucan, panthenol, multiple forms of hyaluronic acid again. So even before we get into any of that potential long-term peptide benefit stuff, you've just got a really nice hydrating formula that, again, immediate plumper, smoother appearance. So for me, peptides sit somewhere between promising science and really good supportive skincare. I'm not expecting them to do the Botox thing, as we all know. It's good, like, you know. I'm very happy to have them in my routine and I'm loving their resurgence. I do feel we have to talk about PDRN because if you buy Korean skincare at the moment, and if you go into like the well-aging category on like Olive Young, for example, Oh my god, PDRN is in everything. Everything needs salmon DNA. There is one reason, and one reason only, I genuinely enjoy PDRN products. That's because the brands making these products have to overcompensate for how hydrating and nourishing these products have to be in order to mimic the effect that you get from actual injectable PDRN. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they have to go overboard to make your skin dewy and plump and hydrated. So ultimately, this is what I think well aging should mean. It's not about desperately trying to keep your face looking exactly the same forever, or expecting a facelift in jars in any way. We all know realistically what skincare can and can't do, even with these constant new trending ingredients. We know the truth. For me, it's about protecting your skin from avoidable damage, keeping it hydrated, keeping your barrier healthy, and using ingredients like retinoid and sunscreen where we actually have good evidence for improving some of the visible signs of photo aging. Everything I share today is something I personally use and enjoy, but your well aging routine might look completely different depending on what you want from your skin. Maybe that's improving pigmentation or texture. You might exfoliate more often than I do, softening the appearance of fine lines, or just simply keeping your skin plump, comfortable, and looking really fucking good. Personally, I do intend getting older and then heading off to China and getting a facelift. I will do that in the very distant future, but I just want nice skin, no matter what that looks like at whatever age. But I would love to know your well aging essentials because I'm always on the lookout for something new to try. I will link all the products in the description box down below. And again, thank you to BEEKMAN for supporting me for years now and sponsoring a segment of today's video. Their body moisturizer will be linked in the description box down below, and hopefully I'll see you next time.